Well, it's time for the beta review. Roll that intro. Well. Treyarch did it. They listened to my every complaint, and the game is perfect now. Yep, that's right. Nothing needs to be changed at all. Well done, guys. Well done. Wait. That's my bad. That was sarcasm. Well, mostly. See, I actually do want to share that some of my complaints were actually addressed. But then everything just kind of went down the drain. Alright, let's get this out of the way first. It's definitely better than the alpha. Not much, but better. You see, Treyarch took the time to fix a lot of the complaints. Not every gun feels exactly the same anymore, which is a huge plus. Gun audio sounds infinitely better, and they added some pretty good features to the game. The list of pros that I have is a lot bigger than the alpha. Alternatively though, my cons list is probably a lot bigger. I'll preface all this by stating that this is beta stuff and could very well be fixed by launch, but my complaints need to be addressed because as it stands right now, I would say that we still aren't at that good game status yet. Maybe approaching it, but still missing the mark by a long shot. So I want to talk about the pros first, because I do think that there's some good to be had in this game so far. And first and foremost, the biggest of all these, let's address the single best thing that came with the beta, and that's a game mode called VIP Escort. Now, before anyone says that players are dumb and it's hard to play alone, I completely agree with you. The hardest part of this mode was playing with incompetent teammates, and that's a big problem with the game overall. I could talk about player skill, but it's not going to be conducive to this conversation. You see, even with bad players, this game mode is fantastic. It adds a level of pressure that moves teams together and forces faster gameplay rather than just camping and watching the score slowly go up. I honestly have nothing bad to say about this mode, but recommend playing it with friends as it'll make it a million times better. I'm slowly getting used to the faster time to kill that Black Ops has always been known for, and let's face it, the last time we played a Black Ops title was 2015 or 16? What was that, Black Ops 3? And we've missed that faster kill speed. It is refreshing, however, to know that you can kill people pretty consistently in not a lot of time. In turn, this speeds up rounds, movements, and action and reaction speeds, and really puts you into some pressure-based moments that I believe make better players. Also, pistols actually kill at reasonable speeds. Thank you so much, Treyarch. I do think it says a lot about why there's a divide in the community between what the better Call of Duty game is. Because on one hand, you have the more refined, more realistic gameplay of Modern Warfare, and on the other, you have the faster, more vibrant game of Black Ops. Me personally, I enjoy both titles because of what they individually bring to the table. I do want to put a pro in here that I don't know how many people have talked about, and that's the music of the game. It's actually really cool and adds to the feel of the game a lot. The general aesthetic that brings you to the Cold War is very prevalent in this game, and I really like to see that. Last bit of my pros here, which I really want to address, is some of the core issues that I had for the alpha that have been somewhat handled. Guns feel like guns, albeit still somewhat toy-like, which is usually the case for a Black Ops title. The aim assist was reduced, not in a good way, but it was changed. I'll talk a little bit more on that here in a bit. And the details of some of the added maps that were thrown into the beta made it feel like the general aesthetic was better. This gives me some hope that they're just fine-tuning and working more to handle the cleanup as best as they can. Well, now to the problem child of the beta. I mentioned that new issues opened up and that some of the problems that I had before weren't completely handled, and these things have me generally apprehensive about what the launch of the game is going to hold, and I know that the developers are really working hard to meet that deadline with a complete game, but the list of issues really keeps piling up. First to be addressed is the same exact issue that I had in the alpha, the visuals. It's still so difficult to pick up players in the fore and background, and this really is the first time that I've experienced genuine eye strain in Call of Duty. For some reason, player models don't stand out well and are a challenge to identify at almost all times in all maps. This is a large complaint among the community, and is probably the first thing that needs to be addressed. Speaking of things that I complained about in the alpha, the aim assist does not function well. It was a literal magnet in the alpha and even tracked through walls. I'm mostly sure that that was addressed, but in my short amount of time playing with a controller, I found that I had to fight the aim assist in the beta to make finite adjustments to get kills that are normally very simple to do. It's hard to say what the actual problem is here, because it's not as simple as it not functioning or as simple as it functioning too well. There's a sweet spot in between both versions of what we've received, and that's where I think that it needs to fall. I don't play on controller, but I do think that there needs to be a decent addition of aim assist for players that do to balance out the gameplay between console and PC. Oh yeah, balance. That's a thing that needs to exist, right? Well, PC has a huge advantage that Treyarch hasn't experienced in past titles to my knowledge. We have precision. And what's precise? Snipers? Wow, I didn't think about that. Okay, I'll stop with this joke. Where am I going with this? Well, plain and simple, the game is hit scan rather than bullet drop. And what this means is that if my cursor is dead on a person's skull, they die. No, but really, it's that easy. And the accuracy of a mouse is far greater than a thumbstick. I have no issues running around sniping in what would normally be a tricky spot in the newest Modern Warfare. Without bullet drop, we have a very unfair advantage, and that is a large concern for me. See, I have no bias towards one platform or another, and want to make it known that right now there is a very clear winner to what is a better method of play. Something that also falls in this category of hit scan is that the developers have already announced that Warzone will still have bullet drop. And I gotta say, just pick one. I think it'll be very disorienting to go from one game mode to another that uses a completely different bullet mechanic. I do enjoy a bit of hit scan, but the only place for balance reasons that I could see this being okay is zombies. What else, you ask? How about that audio, dude? Did that get any better? No, not really. The game is still insanely loud, and kill streaks ruin your ears, especially when you're trying to listen for footsteps. Footsteps are also a big issue to me still. There's no sound difference between team and enemy. Now, not that there's any real-life semblance in that, but the fact that every footstep in my mind is an enemy is problematic. Also, footsteps still boom through multiple walls, and are pretty unrealistic as well. I don't know many people that stomp everywhere they walk, but apparently the cast and crew of Reagan's Warcrime team do. I really would like to see audio cleaned up and maybe the addition of more volume control sliders to limit kill streaks, explosions, and gunfire audio. I think that would be a solid way to clean this up, and they wouldn't even have to put in all that much extra work. Other strange issues that exist: there's a weird flaw in gameplay right now with load times. I think you actually wait a good minute before a match launches, and that alongside some of the disconnection problems and other bugs like not being able to use your buttons for some reason, and spawning in, it made for an issue where I was already worn down before even getting into a match, let alone dealing with the match problems too. I do realize that this is a beta problem and should be cleaned up just fine once the game fully launches, but if not, be prepared for some of the most boring stuff you've ever experienced. Oh, speaking of boring, as some of you recall, I had issues with maps. I'm not going to cover them all, but I do want to say that Moscow is still my favorite, and the only thing that I would tweak to that one is cutting down some of the space near the spawns. They seem a little too unnecessary to me. But oh boy, that ship map Armada is still genuine grade A garbage. And even with a new game mode on that map, it was still unbearable to play. How could I fix that? Maybe make it 2 or 3 ships side by side and make it like pirates are boarding a cruise liner. Then you have 2 equal ships on either side, a large ship in the middle, enough space in between, and you can still keep the attack boats available for use on either side. This, or simply increasing the player count, would really solve the problem. It feels like it's meant to be for 15 versus 15 gameplay, or some other number similarly to that, and with the current low player count, it takes so long for matches to complete. Another map that has that similar issue is Crossroads. It's a snow map with vehicles which are supposed to be there to speed things up, and they're somewhat helpful, but again, I wish that they would up the player count to maybe 10 versus 10 or higher. The same overall issues that I talked about for the alpha exist within Miami and Satellite, and honestly, I have no idea what to do for those maps. I will say that Miami is completely bearable in the new VIP escort mode and was actually really fun. I also think it's worth briefly mentioning that the slide mechanic is currently in a really bad state and needs a lot of fixing. It's near instantaneous and almost makes it seem like characters are teleporting, which is near impossible to track while shooting. I know that's not really a map issue, but it does exist within maps. And finally, I want to talk about Dirty Bomb and my concerns for this game mode. There's a lot of speculation that this could be representative of the new Warzone map, which would be fine, but it doesn't feel like Warzone at all. The building layout is vastly different, spacing and pacing of the map seem very different, vehicle control is really, really rough, and overall just doesn't live up to the expectations. I know that this wouldn't be 100% of the map, and doesn't account for the large player count that comes with Warzone, but as it stands right now, I'm hesitant. I will say that the parachute mechanic feels a lot better than what we have in current Warzone, and that's about it. As far as I'm concerned, Dirty Bomb itself and the concept is great, but the gameplay is still very slow, and that seems to be an overall issue with the game currently. Communication methods are lacking, such as ping or objective clarification, and the gas that moves from the explosion is uninspired. I think it'd be really cool if it killed everything in its path quickly and awarded points to the team that did that, which would alternatively speed up the game mode. It seems like a fun concept, but honestly needs a lot of refinement. I expect this mode to sort of replace Plunder as soon as it does come out, and honestly, I'd be all for that as long as it's cleaned up a lot. This just in, my final thoughts, or what I suppose are my final thoughts. I think I'm generally optimistic, but I'm hesitant for what the launch will hold. My face value score right now says that we're around a 70% for a complete game. There's so much fine tuning and work that needs to be done before I'll be satisfied and excited to play this title. What do you think needs to be worked on? Are you excited for things that we didn't get to test, like zombies? Did I miss something that was obviously an issue? Seriously, let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. I read every single comment and try to respond as best as I can. Also, while you're here, don't forget to subscribe. I'll be releasing more Call of Duty content in the future, and we'll also be discussing the official launch of the game. I mean, I already bought it. Might as well, right? Thank you guys as always. Have a good one. Recording this so that Call of Duty understands this is a problem. Hello, audio? Oh, I'm so sorry. This is terrible.